Hi Naveen, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
So let's talk about scalable decision making using Agentic AI. A lot of our clients are talking about using AI in their work. A lot of companies are using Gen AI based tools to decipher calls, look at chat scripts, and that's driving a lot of improvement in customer service, efficiency. Um, the next frontier, I think a lot of companies are now starting to think about is how can we scale decision making, especially when decisions involve a lot of complex internal business knowledge, external information, internal information, and relying on regulatory policies, internal policies, and obviously, most importantly, human experience that has been built over the years. What are your perspectives around how does a company go from using LLMs, the tools around that, for doing their research work or automating operational tasks, to then graduating towards scalable decision making using agentic AI? What are the key steps for that?
Sure. So, Bobby, let me touch upon the evolution of decision making in the context of agentic AI, generative AI. 2, 3 years ago, people were using, or people are still using LLMs
Yeah.
for some basic analysis. They would upload a document or a tool, would ask for some analysis on it. Then it gradually moved to RAG systems or retrieval augmented generation systems, where you give knowledge to your LLMs to analyze your information. So it is more intelligent. It will go use vector databases. It will go first into your knowledge bank, your
Yeah.
documents, and then give you the answer, which is more contextual, more uh, relevant to what you're looking for. Then the third was then people started building AI agents. So AI agents also then use some APIs. They would use a tool, a little bit of coding. So AI agents would perform certain tasks extremely well. So if I need to create a report or an analysis on a set of documents in a certain format, it'll do that. Then, of course, in the last 1 year, agentic AI systems have become quite pervasive. So agentic AI systems use all of these AI agents. They're autonomous systems which will work as a team. So for instance, you have an agent which does a bit of data engineering, consolidates the data. The second agent would perform some analysis, basic analysis on it. There could be a more advanced agent which does more in-depth analysis on that data. And then there could be a summarizer agent or a presenter agent which presents that data according to the requirement. So this is really is the evolution of AI for decision making.
Mm-hmm. And how does the company go about driving their efforts to get to that stage? I don't think it's an overnight transition. It is a long, lengthy conversion to go from where we are today. Um, the jittery part of that is how do I let a computer make decisions for me when I've always relied on humans, experts in their domain. Um, how does company go about charting that journey?
Sure. There are certain foundational aspects to it. I would say uh, before companies even think about using agentic AI for decision making, they have to take certain foundational steps. And the number one in that list is your data.
Of course.
So companies have to make data ready for it. So the readiness of data to even implement an AI program is an extremely important step. So how do I get the data together, whether my data is clean? There are proper governance policies around that data.
Mm-hmm.
There is a data observability, there's a data lineage. When you are building decisions or building dashboards or some analysis on top of it, it should not leak any personally identifiable information.
Sure.
So can we observe that data before it hits an agentic AI system or before AI agents start working on it?
Correct.
So the first foundational layer is getting your data in order, put proper governance and management in place. Then start with simple proof of concepts. Nowadays with AI, agentic AI, technically you can build prototypes in 2, 3 days.
Of course.
And within 30 days, you're ready with a fully working product.
Correct.
So the whole idea is that build quickly, fail fast, succeed fast. That is the whole idea. And in terms of this whole continuum, So start with the data, pull out your structured data, unstructured data. There are ways to do it. Then this agentic AI system, I'll explain you an agentic AI system which we have built as part of our Transfer IQ platform for this large scale decisioning using agentic AI. So you feed in structured and unstructured data. It extracts the metadata. It gives you the data schema, basically explains and profiles the whole data. Then you can run simple queries and analysis on it. For instance, what is the trend of my sales in the last 6 months? So it'll give you factual answer. It'll create simple charts, graphs.
Yeah.
Then you can move to more complex questions. That which are the regions where my sale is going down and which products are doing well, which products are not doing well. So it'll give you some more analysis on it. Then you get into a complex root cause analysis, RCA, where you ask certain in-depth questions and it basically test different hypotheses. It can build hypotheses on its own. It can do a multi-level root cause analysis, do a multiple level drill down to find out the exact root causes for a particular fall in business numbers or whatever it is. And then, of course, the next level is predictive analytics, forecasts, looking into the future, foresights. It can build different scenarios. If I change my pricing by this, how would my revenue look in the next 6 months? So all of this analysis can be done by this decisioning agent. So that is the way to think about it. In fact, in our platform, we have also built out a facility called branching out. If you have a certain chain of thought and you're asking questions, but suddenly you have questions on certain points, it'll branch out on the side. You understand that concept, and then it comes back to the trunk. And then you have whole continuity in your thought process.
And it kind of brings a smile to my face because a lot of times I've sat in meetings with business owners saying, "Hey, Bobby, how confident are we that we're going to hit our revenue target for this quarter?" Right? And normally you kind of say you've done your analysis to an extent that you can, but a lot of times you may not have all the facts that you need. So a branching out capability lets you go on the side and ask other questions, and then continue the stream of thought that the system was working on. Yeah, that's
and over a period, if CEOs, CXO level folks, or decision makers are using this, these agents sort of become so smart that they actually start acting like your trusted partner, your trusted support staff, or an agent which is helping you with all of your decisioning process.
So yeah, that's kind of really what our clients are looking to be able to do. Obviously, in a step-by-step function, not overnight. If all of these tools are doing what they are saying, a lot of newer tools coming which are skills based, why can't our clients do it themselves? Why do they need somebody else to come in and do it for them?
Sure. So, Bobby, first of all, there's so much of buzz about AI, and it has become very confusing for the clients. There are multiple tools, multiple technologies, multiple ways to handle data. There are different kinds of foundation models. Then, of course, there is this aspect of multimodality. I can use structured data, unstructured data, voice, videos. So there's so much of noise about it. One, an external consultant can help you declutter that noise. So we create very clear roadmaps on where can clients start with simple data management to simple problems to more complex ways of or more complex analysis, which can be, or for business process automation. There could be multiple use cases. So that is one. Number two, external companies like us also have, we work with different industries, different kinds of clients. So we have different use cases. So how can we transport learning from one industry, one company to another company?
True.
So that whole benchmarking and what's happening and what's working, what is not working. And third, a very important aspect is that how do we implement these solutions in the most cost-effective manner? Then the whole idea of LLM ops, or you do it in an optimized fashion so that you're using optimized compute, optimized storage. You're spending not too much of money on something where it just requires, say, 50% of the money to do it.
Correct. And I think literally what you're saying is you're not starting at the beginner level, you're starting at an advanced level. You're not making mistakes and learning from them.
Exactly.
That have already been done and dusted and people have moved on.
Correct. And maybe additional aspect I wanted to highlight was that even the security and compliance is very important.
Absolutely.
So, how do we get in the right kind of security? The outputs, there is no hallucination, there is no prompt injection issues or
Yeah.
jailbreaks,
Yeah.
because all of these are autonomous agents.
Yeah.
So, of course, there have been a lot of articles on agents going rogue, or they start hallucinating, giving you wrong information in a very confident
True.
way. So, how do we avoid that? So, putting that guardrails in place. So, external consultants can bring in that perspective
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I can relate to my own personal example. I use LLMs on a daily basis a lot. And I learned the hard way that they hallucinate. So I'm always cross checking everything that they tell me. Then that creates work for me, and I don't like doing too much work, right? So I've now built my own guardrails to say, stay within this, and you're giving me information, cross check information against all of these particular files that I have in my drive, as well as external data sources that they have already got access to.
Sure.
So yeah, I've kind of personally experienced that. Yeah, the world is very exciting. So with all this progress that we are making, how far do you think AI will take us, where we don't need a human in the loop anymore?
See, I mean, the world is definitely moving towards autonomous AI systems and complete autonomous AI systems. And that is an ideal scenario, because
Yeah.
that's when you save a lot of effort, a lot of rework. You can really optimize your spend
True.
on a business process. But having said this, I'm from a school of thought where you can't trust agentic AI systems completely at this point in time.
Sure.
So you have to have human in the loop. You need to have human checks. We have built systems where every outcome has a confidence score.
Right.
So a human comes in and says, okay, I am confident about it, or I'm not confident about it. Or to what extent, 85% confidence or
Correct.
70% confidence. So humans then have to decide that I'm comfortable with this kind of a confidence score.
Right. Right.
And let's move ahead.
Right.
Another example is that sometimes when we are doing analysis, the data is not completely available. So there is a clear cut call out that this will provide you a part answer. Are you willing to live with it? So then you have to take a decision.
Yeah. And how do you scale something like this? As an individual user interacting with an LLM, the LLM can learn my style. But when you have thousands of users using a platform like Transform IQ, how does the system customize for each independent user?
Sure, sure. So I think you're touching upon the scalability aspect of agentic AI.
Yep.
See, when we do analysis, there are analysts who are working on an isolated problem. There are two, three, four people team working on it. Suppose if you have thousands of systems and there are thousands and thousands of tables, data sitting all over, then agentic AI systems are very effective. They can find patterns which are not seen by humans, or the humans
Correct.
can't see it. Scalability is at multiple levels. One, the data size. Second, the scalability, as you rightly said, there are thousands and thousands of people who are
Right.
accessing that system. So how do we ensure that the speed is not compromised and the system doesn't go
Yeah.
down?
Yeah.
So you have to have processes and infrastructure designed in a fashion that
True.
it can take that kind of volume of data and the number of users. So that is another aspect of it. So I think that is the way an organization can think about
Yeah.
implementing it.
No, I think that's fantastic discussion. One of the features that I think I love the most is an LLM platform with Agentic AI solution built on top of it can create new hypotheses based on what it's seen in the data,
Absolutely.
test those hypotheses, and make a decision, which is how a human would do. If human sees a new data pattern, a new data trend, they are going to go and look into it and try and see if that's something that gives new light to a decision, and take a decision accordingly. So, which I think brings agentic AI solutions to the next level of decision making. And I think using agentic AI to scale those decisions is really the right
Absolutely.
right way to go. So, great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Bobby. Thanks.